not want us here.
Who do you mean?
The people here, they do not want us here.
نعم في قصف وفي دمار وفي حرب وفي كل فترة من الفترات بصير في عنا إشي أو حدث يرجعنا للصفر بس هذا الإشي ما بيزيدنا غير تحدي.
We are about to embark on an adventure.
You sure you're up to this?
I'm your girl. Hello and welcome to Arts 24's film show, where we look at the best of this week's releases with our film critic, Emma Jones. Hello, Emma.
Hello.
Well, we're starting with the favourite to take Best Picture and Best Director at this year's Oscars, Brady Corbet's The Brutalist. Now, it's about a Holocaust survivor attempting to make a new life in 1950s America. The movie has 10 Oscar nominations. Emma, why is it a frontrunner?
Well, this is really a cinephile's movie, and it was developed by American director Brady Corbet and his partner Mona Fassvold over 7 years, and then shot in 33 days with a $10 million budget. That's not much. And the final number for you, 3.5 hours. That is how long
with a break
the movie
in the
is.
middle.
Yes, it has got an interval in between, which Brady Corbet insisted upon. And finally, to complete the film lover's dream, it is shot on an obsolete form of film, a practically obsolete form of film anyway, called VistaVision. So this is old-fashioned, uncompromising filmmaking, and many feel that Brady Corbet should be rewarded for his epic struggle in making the movie, which really mirrors the struggle of his protagonist in the film. That is a Hungarian Jewish architect called Laszlo Toth, played by Adrian Brody, and he is trying to build a brutalist architecture monument in this new country, which does not welcome him.
OK, well, Adrian Brody is the favourite to take Best Actor, the second time he'd have won the Oscar. Let's see more of the film and hear from the actor and the director.
Tell me, why is an accomplished foreign architect shoveling coal here in Philadelphia?
I'm afraid it is not so simple. There was a war on, and yet many of the sites of my projects had survived. My buildings were devised to endure such erosion of shoreline.
It's an opportunity for me to honor my ancestral struggles, my mother and my grandparents' hardships and loss and fleeing Hungary in the 50s, and the details and hardships that they experienced that very much parallel the lived experience of my character.
For me, I think that the length of a movie is similar to the length of a book, a double album, painting with a big canvas. And at the end of the day, especially because the film has an intermission, it's only 100 minutes on each side, so it's not so bad.
There we go, Brady Corbet there speaking about the film's length. Emma, movies do seem to be getting even longer. Does the time pass?
Oh, yes. I wouldn't say the length of the film is a problem. And I think it's also really aided by feeling like two separate films with an interval in between. And Corbet has said that he makes the first half of the movie as the American dream. It's really no American dream. The second half of the film is like Greek tragedy, as Laszlo Toth is treated brutishly by his artistic patron. That's Harrison Lee Van Buren. And that's another great performance by Guy Pearce. So really, it's just a film where you sit back and you really have to look at all the parallels in the film. The prejudice shown against immigrants mirrors the prejudice shown towards the brutalist form of architecture. And of course, the artistic struggle really for a pure vision in a brutal capitalist world. So really, this is landmark cinema. And so if you are a fan of cinema, you should probably see it.
OK, it sounds like a commitment anyway. Moving on now to an anthology film, From Ground Zero. These are 22 short films by artists in Gaza. They detail everyday life during bombardment by Israeli Defense Forces following Hamas's attack in Israel on October the 7th, 2023. Let's take a look.
كله حرام هذا والله زي ما انت شايف اللي احنا بنعمل كله على الارض قاعدين بنلم فرن وبقرة بس عشان ناكل
دائما الزنان بضلها تزن زن زن ضل وقت هيك فوق راسك وانت نايم وانت قاعد بتسوي وانت بتدرس وانت بترقص.
ماما كتبته عشان لو قصفوا ومتنا يعرفونا من الأسامي اللي مكتوبة على أجسامنا.
So Emma, given the circumstances, making this film seems like a real achievement.
Yes, indeed. I think speaking from a humanitarian point of view, this is a series of often very, very moving short films, often with young children as the protagonists. And this project was started by Palestinian director Rashid Masharawi to give the Palestinian perspective of what was going on in Gaza, but also, I suppose, to give artists and creatives a purpose during this time. So a lot of the films are only about 3 to 5 minutes long, and there's a few standouts for me, really. There is one story about a man who is buried in rubble 3 times in 24 hours and survives them all, and another film called Hell's Heaven, in which a man takes a body bag as a sleeping bag because he has no other blankets. So, you know, really quite moving stuff, and you can only quite admire the achievements, as you say, in making this film. I think comparisons have been drawn to neo-realist filmmakers, of course, starting out their filmmaking in the aftermath of war. But I notice in so many of these films, the filmmakers go to shots of the sea, and it feels like almost the only real beauty left to them to film.
Okay, fascinating. And it was shortlisted for Best International Film at the Oscars, though it didn't make the final 5, but another Palestinian film did. Tell us about it.
Yes, it did. That's the documentary No Other Land. It's set on the occupied West Bank, and it's made by a Palestinian-Israeli collective of filmmakers. It is probably the favourite to take Best Documentary Feature at the Oscars.
Okay, well, one to watch. A big change of tone now, and to rom-coms. Bridget is back in time for Galentine's Day. Bridget Jones' Mad About the Boy is the 4th instalment of the British heroine's adventures and based upon author Helen Fielding's 3rd novel. Directed by Better Call Saul's Michael Morris, it sees Bridget enter the dating pool after the, spoiler alert, death of Mr. Darcy, played by Colin Firth. Emma Jones, what did you make of Bridget Jones's return?
Another Jones, yes, indeed. Well, it's great that this 90s and noughties icon is becoming really quite beloved of Gen Z and millennials. However, just speaking personally, I think I would have preferred just to keep those first 2 Bridget Jones's films, you know, as a landmark to another era. Because really, do we want to see Hugh Grant playing an ageing Daniel Cleaver, you know, and just reminding us all really of the cruel passage of time. But, you know, Bridget Jones, she is back. And the film starts off with Bridget, played by the ever-charming Renee Zellweger, embarking on dating 4 years after Mr. Darcy's death. Now, Chiwetel Ejiofor playing a teacher. He's a potential suitor, perhaps, but it's a 20-something called Rockstar, played by the White Lotuses and One Day's Leo Woodall, who catches Bridget's eye.
OK, well, let's see more of Bridget Jones' Mad About the Boy, and also hear from Renee Zellweger, who was recently in Paris to show the film.
In life, there are memories that will never leave us.
I like you very much, just as you are.
But sometimes, those memories are suddenly...
Bridget!
all we're left with.
Why is your granny wearing pajamas?
She's imperfect, but she never gives up. She always somehow finds a way, sort of inspires us when we see ourselves in her imperfections not to give up.
It's been 4 years now.
You were effectively a nun, a very, very naughty nun.
Mommy! Mabel's stuck up the tree! We're going to die!
Everything all right, Mrs. Darcy?
Oh, my God.
Hiya.
I've climbed a magical man tree.
Hello.
You can call me Rockstar.
Bridget Jones.
Gotta love it, really, haven't you? But Fielding wrote the novel, and she wrote it quite some time before films like Baby Girl, for instance, or The Idea of You made these age gap films featuring an older woman and a much younger man on trend. I think that the main thing is you really know what you're going to get with a Bridget Jones movie, and that is partly the return of beloved characters, played, of course, by Hugh Grant. Then you've got Gemma Jones, Jim Broadbent, Sally Phillips as Shazza, Bridget's best friend, who who always has the best advice for her. I think also we have a lot of chat going on right now, whether Bridget Jones, who was, of course, originally portrayed as a bit ditzy and obsessed with finding a partner, whether she is a great role model for women 20 years later. But I suppose there's a different way of looking at it, really, isn't there? Which is, you know, maybe right now we need a lot more of Bridget's optimism, joy in life.
Comforting, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very, very comforting. And, you know, the film will deliver that in bucket loads.
OK, well, we'll have a report from the world premiere here in Paris later in the week. Now, finally, to the Iranian film, one that you love, My Favourite Cake. It's been a worldwide art house hit since its debut at the Berlin Film Festival a year ago.
Yes, indeed. Now, this is a real simple masterpiece that also is, for much of the film, delivers all the sweetness and delicacy of A Favourite Cake. The film was made by a male and female co-director, Betash Sanaya and Mariam Moghadam, and they couldn't travel to Berlin, sadly, a year ago in order to launch the film. This is the story of Mahin, and she's played by Lily Fardapour, who's a widow, as are most of her friends. She leads quite a solitary life until she gathers the courage to try and meet a man, which she does in, of all places, a pensioner's restaurant. Quite a lovely meet cute. Faramaz, his name is, played by Esmail Marab. Now, most of the film, it's shot in one room, which is Mahin's apartment, where they enjoy probably a strictly forbidden date. It's a wonderful, bittersweet film, you know, dedicated, I suppose, to the nature of getting old. But I think that people of all ages will really respond to the idea of deeply connecting with somebody, even if it might be a brief moment.
OK, well, we'll leave you with My Favourite Cake. Thank you so much, Emma, for joining us and giving us your picks of the week. And thank you, everyone, for watching. See you next time.
من مهینم.
منم فرامرزم.
دوست داری بیای خونه من؟ پس تو چراغا رو درست میکنی، منم برات یک کیک میپزم.
من پیر شدم.
هنوز خیلی کارم مونده که بکنی. نباید جلوشون کم بیاری. هر چقدر تو مظلوم‌تر باشی اینا بیشتر تو سرت میزنن.